Happy Father's Day out to all the fathers out there. Anybody that's listening that's a dad, I love you. We all love you. And this show is dedicated out to you. I kind of want to make this a staple. Now I'm going to start it off here. I think Father's Day is a good opportunity to do it. Today's show is all about what grinds my gears. It could be societal, it could be people. It's going to be 5 things. I'm going to try to break it down as best I can, keep it nice, simple, hopefully get you guys a couple laughs today and get you on your way quickly. I had a great Father's Day with my dad, spent the day golfing, and literally spent the day. I mean, we were behind some slow bastards. I'll talk about it a little bit. For everybody else, I'm Sal Assante. Welcome to the We the Patriots podcast, and we'll get right into it. This thing that's in my brain, it keeps me from wanting to go on, but I want some gain. Maybe a little fame. Yeah, oh yeah. So, what grinds my gears?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Welcome to the show today. We're getting up there in number, getting in on 100 episodes, and I think we'll hit it by the end of the year this year. So thanks to you guys, everybody who's listening. I can't be any more grateful. And again, I want to reiterate, Happy Father's Day. Didn't do the due diligence I think I could have for Mother's Day. I want to make sure I hit the fathers up as best I can. I know we got a male audience, so let me know about if you got treated well, if you're a father, if you had a nice Father's Day. One of the things that does grind my gears, and this will be the first one, I'm going to try to limit this to 5 so that way I can make this kind of a series. This is going to be based off of what's off the top of my head, and of course Father's Day being what it is. I started thinking about holidays and celebration in general. And one thing that was a conversation amongst me and some of my friends this weekend was Pride Month, and how, well, it's a month. It's not a day. It's not a one thing celebration. It's a month. And is that fair? Right. So you look at Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, all these sentimental holidays that we have that are ingrained into at least American society. I know there's a lot of different ones around the world. A lot of them are celebrated on very different days than ours. But beside the point, I think that it's interesting and to think about the certain things that receive a month and the certain things that receive a day. Can't wait to offend some people with this one, but you're talking about believe that, well, I know there's a Black History Month. Now, I want to say that there's a Women's Month, but don't quote me on that. But what grinds my gears is how, as a society, we pay more attention to, I guess there's no other way to say it other than sinful or our lustful urges, and putting them on a pedestal, and that really grinds my gears. It really pisses me off that we can't put, I would say, our focus as a society, and especially in American culture, into what I would say are more important values if you want to try to rank them, but that's beside the point. Just what we're celebrating, right? When you're talking about Pride for a month, Black History for a month, not to say that neither of those don't deserve a day or a celebration, but again, when you compare it to what only has a day, we're only going to celebrate mothers for a day. We're only going to celebrate Earth Day for a day. We're only going to celebrate fathers for a day. We're only going to celebrate our veterans for a day. To me, it belittles the goodness that comes out of society and what comes out of a well-woven fabric. And like, for instance, when I'm talking about pride, is there something wrong with celebrating the fact that you have a certain sexuality? I'm not necessarily saying that, but is it deserving of a month? I guess you beat the judge and let me know in the comments. Let's get on to number 2. And this one comes again from kind of recent happenstance, but it happens all the time. When you have multiple lanes in traffic, so when you have on one side of the road more than one lane, so you have a passing lane, you might have multiple passing lanes. Something that really grinds my gears is when you have someone who will not move from the left lane might not even be doing the speed limit, and it might be a highway. Worse, what grinds my gears is someone who will hog that left lane, but will drive exactly the same speed as the car next to them. Not slower, not faster, just the exact same speed. Could not get more pissed off when I'm trying to overtake someone. Maybe you've been following them for miles. Maybe they're just not going the speed of traffic, which is very often the case nowadays. People drive under the speed limit a lot nowadays, I've realized. And people also drive like they've never driven before. I see people who are making panic turns, people who are breaking out of nowhere on purpose. Today, I even had an instance. I was coming back home and I had a cop just stopped in the middle of the road, in a main road. No lights on, no hazards, just sitting in the road. And I was slowing down. He just stopped, dead stop, in the middle of the street. I honked at a cop for the first time in my life and I didn't get pulled over, but my goodness, it was bizarre to see. You would have had to see the situation to understand, but people have heads up their asses when they're driving lately, and I don't know if anybody else is experiencing it, but I would say in New Jersey it's been brutal, especially with all the road work and everything going on. I mean, good luck to you, ladies and gents. On to the next one. The next thing that grinds my gears is how our society has become so polarized. And what I mean by that, I want to talk about it mostly politically, but I do also want to broaden the spectrum a little bit. Something that's wrong with the way that I think that we think as a general population is that we look to find right and wrong. Okay. And especially when it comes to politics, we like to say that there is a perfect yes or no answer. When it comes to policy, maybe when it comes to a candidate. And when you bring a society down to that small of a specificity, no way I'm saying that right, stumbling over my own words here, but I'm running with the thought as I go. When you're going to bring things down to that simple of a term, yes or no, right or wrong, especially when it comes to nuanced topics. Okay, so I'll give an example. When it comes to, let's say, when it comes to an abortion, okay, when you're talking about such a topic where it's not necessarily what is right and wrong, because you're going to have moral arguments, you're going to have scientific arguments, you're going to have arguments based on total anecdotal and feelings, and you're also going to have arguments that are trying to be made based on facts or based on scientific research. When you have such a nuanced topic, to say, for example, that abortion is right or wrong, or that there is such a scenario where it should never happen, having that argument and thinking you're going to get to a finite answer, or thinking that someone has the grand scale solution, right? That really bothers me with society, because what it limits, and this is where it gets to the point where it starts really pissing me off, is that people start to band up and they start to gang up on each other. And even when, right, like I'll think about when I first started engaging in any sort of politics or even just trying to speak with people. A lot of times it was when I was trying to speak to someone who was older than me and I had to try to catch up with conversation. A lot of times the questions that you ask or the things that you say, you're talking out of your ass. You have no idea what you're talking about, and you're just trying to engage in the conversation, and you learn by having that conversation. And the first thing that makes you never want to participate in conversation, especially when it comes to politics, is when you're being made out to feel stupid. And this is where the polarization thing really starts to bother me, because the Trump-Biden thing, let's broaden the scale. You have people getting so angry over the fact that they're going to go cast a vote in November. You have people claiming there's going to be a civil war. I'm not saying that that's the broad stroke analysis. I'm saying that there are some people saying that's a possibility. This is all over whether you voted for one side or the other, if you don't vote the right way, and depending on what side of the aisle you're listening to or that you're on, you're hearing it from your camp. My Twitter is still pretty much in the middle. I haven't been straying too far left or right, and I'm glad that I've done so. But what I'm seeing is that depending on which part of the timeline I'm on, I'm just seeing people try to bat each other over the head every time. There's not real much nuanced conversation. And the people that I start to like, the people that I start to bring in, once they have nuanced conversation, they immediately get attacked and start basically being forced into a scenario where they need to take a side. Um, it's unfortunate. I think that it's something that we could definitely work on as a people, as a public. The fourth thing that really grinds my gears in society, thinking that needing a higher education in order to attain status or attain any sort of wealth. It really bothers me, people that see that because they spent more years in school, because they spent more time studying, got more degrees, got more letters on their name. When people see that as a sign of status instead of what other people have done over a lifetime when it comes to work, what they built up in business or what they've seen in the ability to make things happen, it really bothers me that people look down on something like a trade, that people aren't reinforced in that decision to possibly do something. And I'll give an anecdote. I think that I have talked about this numerous times on the show, but I'll just bring it up again. I had that one school counselor, the school counselor who did not really promote me in seeking what I may have enjoyed, right? So I was asking to do extracurricular activities when it was related to either engineering or possibly auto parts, doing something during my high school. So splitting my time between a shop class that was half of my day, so like a considerable chunk of my day, and then the rest was regular classes. And I was pushed away from that decision because my grades were too good. To me, not having a kid who was clearly demonstrating a, I would say at least a somewhat of a passion or a drive to attain a knowledge and possibly a life skill and maybe what they may do for life, a career, and pushing them away from that to go to college instead. And this is in high school. This is when you're a sophomore. It was the only opportunity you could do this. I look back on it and it really does bother me that I wasn't urged in that direction, that I wasn't pushed to take that opportunity. And I can't imagine how many more kids these days are receiving that information. That counselor ended up basically ditching us, my classmates and I, leaving us out in the dark for college applications, and basically had to do that stuff all on our own because of one person. And I will get to my final thing. The last thing that grinds my gears, and this is people in general, the people that are not willing to see what they have started through, right? That respect of when you say you're going to get something done, you get it done. There's actually a verse somewhere in the Bible, but the summation of the story is that there's two sons, and they're both asked by their father to do a task, and one very, very enthusiastically says yes, and the other says no. What happens is the one who very enthusiastically said yes couldn't get the task done, or actually intently did not do the task, did not perform what he said he would do. And the other son, who had said no and was shirking off, said that he wasn't able to do it, actually ended up performing what needed to be done, what was asked of him by his father. And the question is really, who is the worst son? The one who, because it's not necessarily saying that one is greater, but one did get the task done. And of course, that's the moral of the story, is the one that at the end of the day who got it done. When it comes to specifically something like, that counseling thing, there's nothing wrong with me in my opinion, getting a new counselor, especially one that was well prepped to take over. And I would say maybe this is optimal and maybe this wasn't possible, but not in the middle of a school year in which we were preparing for our college tests and, like I said, applying for schools right after. That's just one example, but when you talk about it in general, I mean, how many people have you heard of where a contractor will come to their house and will shake their hand, say they'll do it for some price, they'll pay out most or all of the contract, and the work is half done, or it's done, never going to get fixed, and it was done broken. One of the life lessons that I received very early on, and I'm so grateful that I did, is that when you say you're gonna start something, you treat it, it's almost as if you signed a contract. Not almost, you're supposed to treat it like it is. When you give your word, right? And I'll be as sexist as I can be here, not intentionally, but I think it's important. As a man, once you give your word to another man, that's it. If it's not done, it is your loyalty, it is your respect that's going to go down because you did not do what you said was to be done. As a society, I think we got to get back to that. I think everybody is at fault, I would say, to a minor degree for all of these things, but in total, I want to see what you guys agreed with. Do these things also bother you? Do you see them often? Do these 5 things come up a lot in your life, or do you think about them, right? When you're talking about things that really grind your gears, to me, one of the just overarching themes of the entire show is all things that I would say a lot of society might agree with but doesn't talk about. And if you don't openly talk about the things that are clearly wrong with everyday life for every American, how are we ever supposed to fix this? How are we ever supposed to say that we have a common web of connection and just a feeling of a truly anchored and well done foundation to build as a base of at least common decency between all Americans? This is what grinds my gears, part 1, hopefully of many. For those of you that noticed and those of you that lasted this long, did the show in my room today. The air down there in the studio not working too well. It's hot as balls, and New Jersey is saucing right now. So hope you have a great rest of your week. Happy Father's Day again. Happy late Mother's Day for, again, not giving that a shrill. I hope everybody was able to spend a great amount of time with their dads. I had a great time with mine. I will see you guys in a couple weeks, I think. Peace out.
I wanna be something, not nothing. Trapped inside my dream and I'm running away from these demons. But the feeling's so good, I'ma keep dreaming.